the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
United States of America.
Please, let's have a hand for our new R.I.I.L.E podium. If I get any shorter, it's going to have to be refurbished. We have the group, award-winning group, I should say, We the People of Rhode Island, are filming here today. And they're going to broadcast this on their TV show, cable TV show, and on the radio, and probably put some things on Facebook and what's the other one? YouTube. So you can tell how tech savvy I am. But I don't know anything about Twitter or any of those things. I have all I can handle with my computer and occasionally Facebook. But I'm going to have John just explain a couple of things about...
And how about a big round of applause for Bob Watson?
We have some guests tonight, and before we have the guests, I'd just like to try to explain something. And I think everyone saw the Pants on Fire article in the Providence Journal. And I wrote an article, and it's too long to be put in. There are so many things that the reporter said that were flagrant lies, misstatements. It was absolutely incredible. And I don't know how many people know or have seen this, but Jessica Vaughn, she's the Director of Policy Studies at the Center for Immigration Studies, a very well-respected national group. She came to my defense, and she wrote a letter to the editor, to Projo. They only published it on Projo.com. The reporter wrote a follow-up letter to her letter to the editor, and she wrote a much lengthier letter to the editor back to them, and they refused to publish any of that. So I don't stand a chance of getting mine in there because it would be as long as an op-ed, and it's just... but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on my response on the website, and I'm also going to put it on Facebook, and we'll go from there. But let me just read you the letter. It's not that long. The letter to the editor Jessica wrote. The Projo needs to start doing some fact-checking on its fact-challenged watchdog, PolitiFact. In Sunday's edition, Gene Emery tried to burn riles Terry Gorman with a pants-on-fire ruling, saying Gorman's estimates of the huge financial cost of illegal aliens to state taxpayers were inflammatory and lacked documentation. In fact, Emery had just the documentation he needed to confirm one of Gorman's key assertions, but he chose not to include it in his barely truthy piece. Emery set out to debunk Gorman's estimate of the number of children of illegal aliens in Rhode Island. This includes both illegal alien children and the U.S.-born children of illegal aliens, which he conveniently left out. Education, health care, and social services for these kids represent the most costly side effects of illegal immigration. Emery found estimates from the Census Bureau and the Pew Hispanic Center, both reliable sources, putting the number of illegal alien children in Rhode Island at around 1,600. Emery then stated that the number of U.S.-born children of illegal aliens was unknown. Pants on fire, Emery. The very same Pew report he cites that 8% of the births in this country are to illegal alien parents, and that this group is more than 4 times larger than the number of illegal alien children. That means that there are an estimated 8,000 children in illegal alien households in Rhode Island. This is very close to Gorman's estimate of 8,740 and easily substantiates R.I.I.L.'s concerns about the cost of illegal immigration. So that's somebody on a national scale that studies these numbers every single day of the week that came to R.I.I.L.'s defense in that letter. And the letter that I wrote, I wouldn't bore you with all of that, but I'll just tell you what the last sentence says. All in all, I find Mr. Emery's PolitiFact assertions to be classified on Pants on Fire. Maybe this article will finally force the state of Rhode Island to reveal the enormous cost of illegal immigration to the taxpayers. When they do, I'm sure I know whose pants on fire will be extinguished. Mine. But just, again, by way of explanation, and I don't want to bore everybody with this stuff, but it really made me mad. I couldn't even talk for like 3 or 4 days, honest to God, if you can believe that. You know, tell my kids I couldn't talk for 4 days, they'd say you were a big liar. Yeah, pants on fire. Yep. But one of the things that really aggravated me, and I could document all of this with emails back and forth between me and Mr. Emery, because I documented everything that I said, I sourced everything that I told him, and one of the things that I did a show with Joe Trillo, and Trillo Talks, and we had an interpreter from a local hospital in disguise in the show, and we called her Susie. And she told me, amongst a lot of other things, she told us and for the public to know that at her hospital, she was required to document every service that she provided to a patient who didn't have a Social Security number, a green card number, or any other form of identification that would be legal in the United States. And when she finished documenting her department, that went on to another department to do the same thing. And hospitals say, we don't keep track of those numbers. It's impossible for them not to keep track of those numbers. If they go to have uncompensated care at the end of the year to get reimbursed for the state of Rhode Island, how do they determine what that care is for? Don't they have to document who got it and who didn't get it? But what he says in his article, Gorman says, and this is about how much of that uncompensated care goes to illegal immigrants. Nobody knows. Gorman says his source is a hospital translator who appeared on a public access cable TV show. He declined to name the source, but said we stand by our figures. Well, the lady didn't say anything. She didn't give me any figures. All she said was, I have to document what services I provide to illegal aliens in the hospital. And the hospitals say they don't require that. One statement, and I question all of these things, but of course there's no answer for the things that I question. Patients are not required to provide Social Security numbers or even green card numbers if they had them, said Gail Leach Carvelli, Medium Relations for Lifespan. Well, how many people in this room can go in the hospital and say they have something wrong with them and say, no, I don't want to give you my Social Security number? If in fact that's okay, why don't we all do that? And just walk out of the hospital and not pay the bill, and how do they find us? If they can't track you with the Social Security, how do they find you? If they don't have a green card number, how do they find you? And the illegal aliens that are walking out of the hospital, they don't even bother to go looking. They just chalk that up. They just walk out the door. Another thing this lady said, the interpreter, said, and how many people get this service? She said that after those people that she has to provide interpretive services for leave the hospital, she has to follow up with them at home to make sure that they're taking their medication, that they picked up their prescriptions, and all of that. And she has to do that in their language. Now, how many people get a nurse or a translator or anyone from the hospital to call you up to see how you're doing after you left the hospital? Yeah. But that one other thing, and he stated that I use Medicaid figures, and I challenged him on that also. I never mentioned Medicaid in my conversations with him or the emails with him. Never said a word about Medicaid. I only referenced R.I.I.L.E. Well, he informed us now that there are 350 pregnant illegal alien women getting both Medicaid and right care in the state of Rhode Island. Medicaid and right care. And he expects us to believe that those 350 women, it only costs $600,000 a year for prenatal care for 350 women. Now, forget about how much it costs, because I think it probably costs that much a month for 350 women. But what he neglects to say is how much it costs to deliver a baby when those women have the baby. The average price is $10,000 in Rhode Island. And another figure that they would challenge me on, there's 9,800 babies born in Rhode Island every year. 10% of those babies are born to illegal alien mothers by government figures. You talk to the people that work in those hospitals, they say 50% of those babies are born to illegal alien mothers. But the last thing, when he called, he introduced himself, told me where he was from, and he said he'd like to interview me. And I said, okay. He said, I'd like to talk about that $400 million figure that you use. I said, oh, really? I said, okay. Where did you see that? And he said, at the inauguration. He said, some of your members were carrying signs that said illegal aliens cost the state of Rhode Island $400 million a year. I said, yep, they were there. Yep, and I stand by that number. Okay, and the interview went on. And I don't know how many of you read the article, but the article started off with Gorman stated on the Helen Glover show, January 6, 2011, that illegal aliens cost $400 million a year. Well, in fact, I did say that on the Helen Glover show. But why was that brought into the conversation? Why wasn't it stated that he saw the sign at the inauguration, which he told me, and is there an agenda there? Did he want to drag Helen into the thing so he could disparage Helen's actions or whatever? I think that was totally unfair that he brought her into the argument. But there's no defense for this. You know, I can't challenge him. They won't put the article in the paper. I'm sending it tomorrow, my letter, to Ed Acorn and to Robert Whitcomb, who's the senior editor of the Journal. And I'm just sending it to them as a letter. And at the end of it, I'm going to say, if you think this is worthy, maybe it could be an op-ed piece, and see what happens, and see if they would put it in there. But if you notice, the only talk show that talked about this, even mentioned one word, was the Helen Glover show. There's been nothing else in any other local papers. The advocates haven't said one single word about that article. Nobody has mentioned that article except Helen Glover and myself. And there's just something very strange about that, that why wouldn't the advocates be jumping all over this? Look at that liar. We told you he was telling lies the whole time, but that brings me to another thing. We testified at the E-Verify hearing last week. And at the E-Verify hearing, and this is what we're up against, a Reverend Clinker, I call him Colonel Clink, testified, and Roberto Gonzalez testified. And they both flat out lied to the committee. Flat out lied to the committee. And if you've already testified, you can't say anything about that. You have to keep your mouth shut, or you'd be asked to leave the room. But that minister, here's what he told the committee. Said, do you realize the day that the governor announced his E-Verify order, do you know where I was? I was preaching to my flock. And they were speaking Spanish. They were saying prayers in Spanish. And I didn't know what they were saying. And I asked them, what are you praying for right now? And he said, we're praying to stop the oppression. Praying to stop the oppression. Do you know where Colonel Clink was that day? He was right beside Terry Gorman at the State House at the announcement of the E-Verify order of Governor Carcieri, right beside Terry Gorman. So that's a minister that's up there telling lies. That's absolutely incredible. And when they asked him about his church, he founded his church 5 years ago. The Open Table of Christ is the name of the church. Founded the church 5 years ago. They said, how long have you been a minister? He said, I became a minister when I founded my church. Oh. And one of the representatives said, and what line of work were you in prior to becoming a minister? And I almost fell out of the chair. He said, I was a union organizer. Can you imagine that? I was a union organizer.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it.
But it's our 5-year anniversary. And we haven't given up. We'll be here another 5 years. We'll be in their face as much as we've been in their face for the last 5 years. And I'll reiterate what I said once before, that the president of Numbers USA told me about his group when I was down in Washington. They didn't have anything to really hang their hat on. They don't have any great big accomplishment to say, look, we did this. Well, R.I.I.L.E doesn't have anything like that either. We can't hang a banner out and say, we did this, or we did that. But we've been here 5 years. For 4 years, on average, they introduce 15 bills at the State House, in the House and the Senate, that benefit illegal aliens or protect illegal aliens or whatever. And in those 4 years, that's 60 bills that have been introduced. We've been there to testify against every one. Most of the time, the only people that testify against them. And none of them have passed. Not one. So that's enough about us. There are a couple of folks that came tonight that I'd like to introduce you to, and they're just going to tell you, well, one's going to tell you that her experiences as a new senator, and the other one's going to tell you his experiences this year, because they basically does the same thing every year as a senator that's been there. How many years, Mark? 17 years. And happens to be one of the people that really does the job. So, but first off, I'd like to introduce the new senator from Cumberland, Beth Moura.
I just want to congratulate R.I.I.L.E on 5 years of fighting the good fight. Rather than talk about myself, I want to address what's happened with this comment about the gay Guatemalan who likes to gamble and smoke pot that Bob Watson said. I think it's important to realize that every day that we play defense and they play offense is one day that we don't have the ball, one day that we're not fighting for our beliefs and in fighting against illegal immigration. So I think it's been about a week, and they've had the ball. They've been running offense, and we've been running defense every single day on talk radio, in the media. I think it's important to start ignoring it, because the more we entertain it, the more we defend ourselves. We're not playing our offensive game. And I know we probably have a lot of football fans here and that'll be watching this video as well. And you know that the team that has the ball most of the time is the one that's going to win the game. So it's time that we stop the defensive game and we play more offense. So every day we entertain these foolish accusations of racism, and everyone's so offended all the time. Everyone loves to find a way to claim they've been victimized. And I think if this is such a terrible country and such a rotten state full of bigots and racists, one has to wonder, why do they flock here? Why do they want to be here? So I'm going to fight against illegal immigration. I'm going to stand true to my principles with my colleagues, my like-minded colleagues like Mark Cody, Senator Pinga, who unfortunately can't be here tonight. He's recovering from surgery. He said that if you'd like to hear from him, to call him and put him on speaker, and he'll say how much he supports R.I.I.L.E. and loves these guys and loves Terry. So one of the things I think I found most disturbing about the article in the Projo was there was references made to they don't know the numbers. If you don't know the numbers and you don't track the data, how can you dispute what Terry's saying? And I think it's interesting to note that if there are 350 pregnant illegals now, so you're saying basically at any given time in the year or any given day, there's roughly 350 illegals that are pregnant, and that doesn't really account for how many of them may be having twins. It's probably not going to be their last child. They go on to receive other benefits. They go on, to receive Section 8 welfare, food stamps, cash assistance, so forth and so on, because now they have, now that child is kind of their, their golden ticket, if you will, to the benefits. So I actually am submitting a bill. I think I'd like to think of it as my token piece of legislation. It doesn't so much, I don't think it so much targets illegals as it just kind of tries to level off the wagon of benefits. And the legislation basically is, if you apply for any social services, whether you get approved or denied, if you have 2 children, you're capped at that 2-child allowance. So you can't have, you can have 10 children if you want, but you have to do what the rest of us have to do and figure out how to fit that extra, mouth to feed in your existing budget. So that's a piece of legislation that I've had in my mind that I wanted to submit when I was running for office. I thought it was a common sense reform prior to the campaign. So, and I believe Senator Cody is also one of the top sponsors of that. So that's primarily, that's my number one target. I think it'll set expectations realistically. It'll set expectations more in line with what the taxpayers can afford. And it's important to set expectations that, that these services aren't meant to be abused. They're meant to be used for the right reasons. And again, congratulations to Terry and R.I.I.L.E. and thank everyone for coming and for the support along the way.
Beth just brought up a good point about something else with those 350 children. In the article, it says they don't keep track of those children. Well, those children, once they're born, because they're born on U.S. soil, they become U.S. citizens. When they become U.S. citizens, they're entitled to welfare, food stamps, subsidized housing, and medical care. You mean to tell me that the state of Rhode Island doesn't keep track of 350 children, if each lady had one, of those 350 children and the costs that are incurred with all those 4 services? I mean, we're really a sinking ship if we're not keeping track of those type numbers.
Stand up and protect America. That's all I'm asking for. I want this uninterrupted flood of nobody knows who coming across our border south of here. I don't mind these people being here working. They work for me. They work for me. I love them. I have no problem with that. I am tired of people coming across with impunity. We don't know who's here. We don't know what diseases they have. We don't know that they're coming here to work or coming here to kill.
And we've got to stop that. Our language.
Tell me, is there one person here who doesn't have a lock on his front door? One person. Any person that does not have a lock on the front door.
We want these people to come here with allegiance to the United States, to speak our language the way they used to have to do.
We got to, in my opinion, we need to round these people. If it took 20 years for it to get this bad, hey, if it takes us 20 years to get them out, that's fine by me. I'll pay for it. That's money well spent.
We're not against these people, but we want them to conform to the law, to learn to speak our language and assimilate.
It is personal in a sense then too, you know?
Huh?
In a sense it is personal to you.
I just told you no.
Yeah.
You better know that you're way too tough. That's great.
He came here legally. He has every right.
We welcome anybody that wants to come here and become Americans. That's all we ask. But what we're seeing is people are trying to hold on to their allegiance to their former country. That can't happen. That's splitting our country apart. We welcome any immigrant that wants to come, learn English, become Americans, become one of us. Join us. You know, that's all we ask. Don't fly your Mexican flag. Don't fly your other flag. Become Americans. Go ahead. We welcome you. This is America. We're a nation of immigrants, but you've got to become Americans, integrate into the society. That's all we ask, and that's my message, you know? One flag, one language, one nation.
Quiero decir que estamos peleando por nuestros derechos. Hasta ahora se ha levantado el gigante que ha estado dormido. Hoy es el día, vamos a pelear.
Porque nosotros somos los que cargamos con todos los pesados. El de abajo es el que carga con todos los pesados. Mira. ¡Sí se puede!
Donde estamos gritando que no, la tierra esta no era de ellos. Entonces ya se les olvidó los antepasados, ya se les olvidó de dónde venían.
Yo vengo a hablar en el nombre de Dios. Nosotros bailamos para darle gracias por todo lo bueno que nos ha dado. Y le pedimos por favor que, así como ve las cosas que cada persona en particular necesita en el mundo, así mismo yo siento que Él está viendo todo lo que está pasando en todo esto de Estados Unidos y estamos apoyando, ¿verdad?, para que por favor se pongan a pensar en las consecuencias. Estamos aquí unidos como familia, como debería de ser en todas las cosas. Y les pedimos por favor que nos sigan apoyando con sus oraciones y con todo lo que puedan, en el nombre de Dios.
You expect a better reaction?
I wish it would stay peaceful, but they're showing that they can't even control this.
Why are we getting pushed back? And I'm a Mexicana, I can say this. I don't like this. They want to come here without doing it the right way. They want it easy.
I think that we all need to realize that everybody needs to try and work together in order to find a peaceful settlement for all of this.
I think these people, they have double standard. They're saying that we work for them. They're part of the problem as well. Because if they don't hire the legal people is not going to come over here. We have a problem, all of us, and we need to resolve that problem. No screaming, no discriminating, no insulting people. We need to work with the government, with the laws that we have. I don't think that they know the problem that we have in the United States, and I don't think that they know how these people is living in the United States. They are working, they are paying taxes, and they need to have the right to be out of the shadows.
All right, thank you.
This concludes this program broadcast. We the People, a freedom of speech television show. Go to www.wethepeopleofri.org.